Hello and welcome back to Creator's Dementia, episode Zombie Talk, Origin of Zombies. So let's do something just a little bit weird today. Hello, welcome back to Creator's Dementia, episode Zombie Talk, Origin of Zombies. Now, this episode is late. I actually did record this episode last week, and it turns out that the settings in my microphone were turned off. So the entire 31-minute conversation I had with myself did not have any sound. So here we are, the week after. So there was no episode posted last Saturday. So that kind of bummed me out a little bit, but couldn't help but laugh about it. But the thing is, this is still just as fun, still just as awesome, and I hope that you are still going to tune in today to listen to the Origin of Zombies episode. So I really appreciate you coming in and listening and watching, doing all the fun stuff that you do when it comes to podcasts and YouTube channels. I really appreciate it, and I am your host, Bradley, and guess what I just forgot to do? My routine clap. So, welcome back. So I did script this episode, and it's a good thing that I did, or otherwise, when I recorded last time, I wouldn't have all the stuff that I actually talked about. So I matured a little bit with doing my entire episode, and the good thing is that I didn't have to actually sit here and think of the things that I needed to do. My wife sent me a text message. Oh no, poor thing. She's having a rough day at work. Anyways, quick update before we jump into it. So Honest Faces is coming along great. My stepdad actually helped me get a studio cinematic camera that will arrive in 2 days. So that's a plus because that will help with my photography business that I'm trying to jumpstart. I'll be able to actually do videography for weddings and events and stuff like that. So hopefully I finally have a leg up when it comes to trying to jumpstart this business. So that's pretty awesome. And rehearsals are going to start soon for Honest Faces. I know some of the cast members have already started. My episodes are limited, so it's okay. But it's going to be a fun project, and Cedric Masters is going to be a fun character to play. I just cannot wait for it. Legion's Dawn is coming along pretty good. I'm hoping to have it done within 2 months. I'm setting myself a deadline for July and hopefully have it out by the end of July. So we will see how that actually goes. If Lord willing and all things blessed my way, you will have the opportunity to have another book written by me in your hands not too long from now. But that is all the updates I have. So let's just jump into it. Now, on all the other Zombie Talk episodes, it was mostly like opinionated things that I would do in scenarios. Just basically fan fiction in my head type deal. So, but this time we are actually going to do some proper facts with the origins of zombies and things of where they're represented. I actually did research, and I got a whole list of things here to actually discuss because we are going to go differently with this episode of Zombie Talk. So to begin with, the origin of zombies. Now, this is pretty cool fact here. It says ancient Greeks were the first to establish fear based off of the undead. Now, what happened next is kind of like an assumption to possibly the ancient Greeks being the ones that first believed in zombieism. But it says it was actually discovered by archaeologists that skeletons were pinned down by heavy objects and rocks. So, of course, it's more of an assumption for the Greeks to do that to prevent bodies from reanimating and attacking the living. So, it could have been like a punishment thing. That's why, they could have like stoned them to death. But it would be pretty cool if you look at it from that perspective where, they place these boulders and these big old rocks or heavy objects onto skeletons to prevent them from actually reanimating and coming back and trying to completely decimate an entire civilization. So, I mean, that could go either way. I honestly think that it was probably a punishment thing, but, it would still be pretty cool that the reason that they did that was so that way the undead would not walk this earth during their time. But now, when we get into zombie folklore, I don't know if anybody else has ever truly seen it this way or discovered it this way, but it seems like Haiti is a place where it completely starts, in my opinion. I've always seen references of Haiti to link itself to zombieism, so maybe it actually starts in Haiti. But so we are going to talk about basically Haiti and Voodoo with the origins of zombie. So here, let's see here. Zombie folklore. All right, so zombie folklore has been around for centuries, and like I said, mostly in Haiti. It is once again assumed that due to slavery of West Africans in the 17th century, with how slaves were treated, the afterlife of a zombie represented the brutal life of a slave. Now, that would be horrible, because if that was a true fact about zombies, then them zombies would come back with a vengeance. Like, it is ridiculous on how slaves were treated back in the day, and I honestly believe that slaves should have never existed, because that's just horrible. But if you can just imagine, if the zombies actually had memory conception and emotions, how they would actually treat their owners if they actually did come back from the dead. Them owners would probably be running and screaming and regretting that they had ever took part in such a horrific event. But they would deserve it. But so now when I do talk about zombies, there's always a couple little favorite pinpoints that I love that when it comes to zombies. And one of my favorites is, of course, zombie voodoo. Now, of course, every time I hear zombie voodoo, Haiti always comes to mind, like I said before. But like I said, one of my top favorites is zombie voodoo. And voodoo is a religion based in West Africa and practiced throughout Haiti, the Caribbean, Brazil, and other African heritage. So, but most people involved in voodoo religion believe zombies are myths. But some believe they can be created by what they call a bokor. And I hope I pronounced that right. It could be bokor, but it's spelled B-O-K-O-R. Now, so the whole concept of voodoo and zombies is technically a myth to the religion with most people that practice that type of religion. But it is still anticipated that a certain someone of high standards that is considered a bokor can do the actual zombie resurrection with their religion. And now a bokor, the reason that they say a bokor, like I said, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, a bokor can actually be the one to create a zombie, is because they use herbs, bones, fish, shells, and animal parts to create concoctions, including one which is used in what's called zombie powders, and that is called a tetrodotoxin. And a tetrodotoxin is a deadly neurotoxin found in marine life, especially in pufferfish. So, and if y'all have seen movies that includes pufferfish, I know there are a couple of them out there. I wish I could remember the names of them, but pufferfish are highly toxic. They can, if you eat one raw, it is highly possible that you can actually become paralyzed and even die. So to just reiterate the fact that a bocor will use marine life, including the pufferfish, it is highly possible that the neurotoxin called Tetrodotoxin that is used to concoct all these different elements such as zombie powder, it can honestly be accepted to the fact that it is used to create a zombie. And this is why, because a sublethal dose of this madness can cause zombie-like symptoms, which is difficulty walking, mental confusion, and respiratory problems. And we all know that zombies, yes, in a lot of stories, they walk and they have difficulty walking. And of course, they're constantly confused. They can get confused by sound, sight, smell, if they even smell. But mostly it seems like they're more reactant to sound and sight. And the respiratory problems, in The Walking Dead, when Rick is trying to protect Carol's daughter, he says to the daughter that he can run out of breath, but zombies do not, so he has to leave her behind to chase them away, and he'll come back and find her later. So that just, institutes the fact that zombies do not actually breathe. Respiratory problems. But so a sublethal dose can actually cause, these symptoms, difficulty walking, mental confusion, and respiratory problems. But with a high dose of the tetrodotoxin, can actually lead to paralysis and coma. And this can cause the appearance of death. And this is very interesting. So it can cause the appearance of death. So it could not even actually kill you, but make you seem like you are dead. And someone could actually be buried alive, then later revived. Ooh, that would suck so bad. So if, someone did get a high dose of this stuff and fall into a coma and are presumed dead, but are not actually dead, and they get buried alive, if they wake up and claw their way out, technically they're going to be considered a zombie. So that actually does make sense. And how weird would that be? And I know that most days, here and now, they put coffins in a vault to keep the water out of the coffin, as well as if it comes a big rainstorm, it'll keep the coffin from actually rising or the dirt from sinking in. So if they are actually put in a vault inside a coffin, it'd be highly difficult for them to actually claw their way out. But, if someone is buried alive, they're going to try and find every way possible to actually get above ground. So, if someone actually seen that in a cemetery, if I saw that in a cemetery, I would scream zombies. So yeah, that would suck so bad. And her to try. Sorry, I am. Yeah, there we go. So I wonder if anybody has actually experienced a lot of this, in the Haitian community. It says it's possible, so we shall find out. But so the thing we are going to talk about next are actual zombie reports. So this is going to be fun. Like, these are real reports of zombies and different things that compare to zombieism. So now, people want to say that zombie is just a myth or it's just stories. But in my research, I have actually found two reports of actual zombie experience. So I hope you are ready for these two reports, because I found them extremely fascinating, and I think it is going to be fun. So Creator's Dementia today is going to actually bring forth two real-life reports of zombieism, or at least two incidences. So in 1997, an article in the British medical journal The Lancet, a Haitian woman who was classified as dead and placed in the family's tomb actually reappeared 3 years later, and the family claims that the tomb was filled with stones, and yet she was out and about. Don't know what came of her after another medical examination. So the family actually took her to the hospital to get examined after they discovered her after she had already died and put in a tomb filled with stones, and there was nothing after that explains or tells what had actually happened to this woman. And she was a Haitian woman, but she was literally classified as dead and placed in their family's tomb. Don't know what happened to her after, but if someone dies and rises from the dead, that is considered a zombie. So that is a actual report of zombies being among us. But this other report is pretty wicked. So a Haitian man entered a local hospital with respiratory issues back in 1962 and fell into a coma. Now that would, as we said before, that would be a lethal dose of, what was that thing called? Because I do not want to butcher that word. It is called the Tetrodotoxin zombie powder. So that literally reflects the high lethal dose symptoms of zombie powder. This man walked in with respiratory issues and fell into a coma. And after he fell into a coma, he was pronounced dead and then buried not long after. So, pronounced dead. He was buried. But here's the kicker. 18 years later, a man walked up to a woman claiming to be her brother. The same Haitian that walked into that hospital with respiratory issues, fell into a coma, and claimed dead, was the guy that walked up to the woman claiming to be her brother. And he said that he had been dug up and put to work on a sugar plantation. Now, how bad would that suck? That you got the peaceful death. I mean, I'm pretty sure it wasn't peaceful, but the after effect piece, the peaceful aspect of being dead, because no more worries, no more stress, and you were put to work on a sugar plantation. It's like you have to work even after you're dead and still get no appreciation. How bad would that honestly be? That would just suck horribly. So, sorry, guy. I'll just say it that way. I mean, that would be horrible. But the man literally came about 18 years later after being pronounced dead, found his sister, and told her that he was dug up and put to work. I don't know about any of you, but I hope that when I pass on, that there is no more work involved. I would like to actually rest, and this guy was not able to rest. He was put straight to work on a sugar plantation, which all the most of the slave workers that came that surrounds the folklore of zombieism was all actually slaves and put on sugar plantations to work. So this guy literally had the entire trifecta of being a zombie and a slave, and I feel bad for the dude. I really do, and I honestly hope that at some point he lived a good life. So, sorry, guy. Now we are going to actually go into pop culture when it comes to the origins of zombies. So, this got me. I've never heard of this before, but the Undead 18th Century story by Linda Troost claims zombies have been in literature since 1697, but they were claimed as spirits and ghosts, not the flesh eaters that we know today. So, I mean, I can see it just a little bit. Of course, we relate zombies to mostly flesh eaters, brain eaters, decomposing corpses, hunting the living, trying to survive the apocalypse. But, if a spirit does rise from the body after the body is dead, then, you can't actually consider that as being a zombie. So, I mean, I can see that, but, we usually just relate them as ghosts and spirits, not zombies. But to move on from that part in pop culture. Zombies actually came to the cinematic universe back in 1932 with their monster counterparts like Dracula and Frankenstein. Because if you think about it, they are actually zombies too. Frankenstein was a dead. Well, okay, so here's the kicker on this one. So Frankenstein is actually Frankenstein's monster because the doctor was actually Dr. Frankenstein. So I'm just assuming that the monster adapted that name considering it was the man's creation. So, usually the creation takes the last name of the creator. Hence my kids, they all have Bots as their last name. So Frankenstein, he was dead. He got brought back to life and, reconstructed with different parts. And so technically he is a zombie. He got brought back with electricity and science. So technically, yes, Frankenstein is a zombie. Now, as for Dracula, there are many different lores of Dracula. But if you think about it, he is an undead corpse sucking blood from victims, mostly women. So technically, an undead walking amongst the living is a zombie. So Dracula could be considered a zombie. He's just not a flesh eater. He's a bloodsucker. And, you can also think of the other another monster like a mummy. A mummy is a person who is dead, wrapped up in some type of cloth, placed in a tomb by the Egyptian culture. And if they get brought back to life, that is technically a zombie. So all the monsters that we have loved and grew up with are technically all zombies except for a werewolf. That's a transformation type deal from man to dog, basically. But yeah, if you honestly think about Dracula, Frankenstein, and the mummy are technically zombies. So I did not piece those together until I did all this research. So that was pretty cool. But anyways, moving on from 1932, we're going to go to 1968. And in 1968, George Romero's Night of the Living Dead was what really gave the spotlight to zombies that we know and love today. I mean, it's true. Even though Night of the Living Dead focused on mostly brain eating, that's when zombies really hit pop culture. That was when it flourished because Romero actually released zombie movies over the next 15 years that we all know, such as Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. Good movies. They are classic movies, but George Romero does have a good eye for zombie entertainment. So, I'm loving it. Just like McDonald's, I'm loving it. And even after, the zombie culture hit the cinematic universe, even Scooby-Doo, the awesome cartoon that most of us grew up with, even dipped their toes into the zombie culture, which is, Scooby-Doo and on Zombie Island. And I honestly believe that is the best animated Scooby-Doo film ever. I could watch that over and over again. I used to watch it all the time when I was a kid. I love Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. But, we're going to go from that to Brad Pitt even got into the zombie aspect, with World War Z, and that movie actually brought a whole new concept to the zombie cinematic experience. I love the fact that the zombies did not attack the terminally ill. That was pretty cool. It completely skipped them altogether and just focused on the living trying to eat them. And, I always used to be the hardcore old culture. Zombies have no remorse, no morals. They just completely go after flesh and, they devour human life. But that was an awesome concept. I loved it. And, I hope they make another one because I would love to see how that story progressed. But the thing is, when it comes to the zombie cinematic universe, I honestly believe that the best film of all time when it comes to zombies is Shaun of the Dead, and no one will ever change my mind about it because it's got the correct amount of comic relief and it's got the correct amount of zombieism, and Nick Frost and Simon Pegg are just they're just awesome. They're fantastic. I love that duo. Every movie that they've ever been in together, it has just been phenomenal. And I don't think that anything could do any better than Shaun of the Dead. And as we go into the TV show aspect of things, well, let me back up just a little bit because I do have another favorite zombie movie. Like Shaun of the Dead is number one, but following in a close second, of course, is Zombieland and Zombieland Double Tap. Now, and you do not see too many sequels that can match the first movie at all. Half the time, it is either a disappointment or getting pretty close, but Zombieland Double Tap was pretty amazing, and I give it up to the entire Zombieland franchise. It is just fantastic. I wish they would make at least one more. I think it would be epic. But now we're going to go to the actual zombie TV shows, and after the blow up, iZombie came about. And The Walking Dead came about, and you cannot forget Z Nation because Citizen Z was just the best part of that show, even though it got canceled. But iZombie and The Walking Dead are both phenomenal shows. I love iZombie's take on zombies as well. It is highly refreshing, and I've talked about this before. When I first heard of iZombie, I was just like, no, there's no way. Zombies are undead nightmares. There's why in the world would they try to help people and help solve murders? But the way iZombie did it, I couldn't imagine a better show when it comes to that. And if you've never seen iZombie, you need to. It will not let you down. I'll just say it that way. It is a awesome new outtake on zombie culture. Now, The Walking Dead. I love The Walking Dead. I was a complete fanatic of The Walking Dead. I still have a Maggie and Glenn figure in a box in my closet because I was obsessed with The Walking Dead. I got Walking Dead posters that were actually hanging in my kids' room. I took them down so that way they could put their own posters up. But, I actually, spoiler alert, you should have seen it by now, but after they killed off Glenn, which I knew Glenn was going to die because I have read some of the graphic novels, but after they killed off Glenn, I kind of lost interest. They killed off Glenn, they killed off Abraham. And those were two awesome characters that I always enjoyed watching. When The Walking Dead come on, I would just be gravitated to them two characters. And when they killed them off, it kind of just seemed trivial to me, even though Jeffrey Dean Morgan did come into it, and he is fantastic. He plays a good Negan. And I've heard spoilers of what Negan is now because I have not went further into the show, but maybe I should finish it, even though a lot of characters are gone now. But The Walking Dead is a really good show, and it did the proper hype did go to it. I will not gonna lie. The Talking Dead after show did amazing, and The Walking Dead deserves all kinds of praise. It is a fantastic show. But moving away from the pop culture aspect of zombieism, the last things we're actually going to talk about is an actual history book that references zombies. And I'm pretty sure you guys know what history book I'm talking about, and that is the Bible. And so for the last part of this episode, the Bible mentions a type of zombie. Believe it or not, it does. It's not the cannibalistic kind, but it's still zombie nonetheless. And no, I'm not talking about Jesus. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the book of Ezekiel. In the book of Ezekiel, he has a vision of being dropped in a boneyard. The bones begin to shake, become covered in flesh and muscle, and are fully reanimated. Now, that sounds like zombies to me. It's a complete creation of a zombie, not just a viral infection that reanimates the brain, but all these bones are conceiving muscles and flesh and coming together to walk amongst the earth, possibly. I know it says his vision's in a boneyard, but can you just imagine watching a skeleton completely form into a real life zombie of muscle tissue and flesh. That would be wicked. Now, how you would actually eliminate that type of threat, unless they got a brain, I have no idea. And of course, if it's supernatural, we all would be screwed, because a bullet probably will not take care of the problem. Maybe just have to actually try to bury them like the ancient Greeks did, with heavy objects and stick them deep in the ground. But moving on from Ezekiel, Isaiah actually talks about zombies. And it says, in the book of Isaiah, dead men living together, and they all shall rise. They sing and dwell in dust, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Now, I'm pretty sure that is referencing the end of times, and it is highly possible that the reason that we associate zombies with the apocalypse is because of this. I'm not saying that's the reason, but I'm saying it is a possible reason. Because, if it says the earth will cast out the dead, and that is actually also in the book of Revelations. So, if a supernatural event happened to the point where the dead rises from the ground, that is considered zombies. And if we could actually deal with it the way pop culture has taught us to deal with it, then we would have a fighting chance, even though Book of Revelation saying the end of times is not avoidable. We would still be able to try and survive as much as possible. And we can also not forget the famous line that says, saints and sinners will rise. How was it put? Sorry. I wrote it down, but I think I kind of butchered it in my writing. Okay, so Book of Isaiah talks about dead men living together, and they all shall rise. They sing and dwell in dust, and the earth shall cast out the dead. And, of course, we can't forget the saints and sinners during the end of times. Now, why did I write that? See, sometimes my note-taking sucks, and my research work sucks. But you get the point. I'm pretty sure it's like saints and sinners will rise from the grave. I'm pretty sure that's around the aspect. If that's not true, I apologize. But I'm pretty sure that's basically what it's saying. But yes, this episode, we just talked about the origin of zombies. It wasn't opinionated scenarios or things that I would do in a zombie apocalypse. This was actual research. So thank you guys for listening and tuning in. I really appreciate it. I scripted this episode for the most part, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Now, I really believe that it is highly possible that zombies do exist. There have been 2 recordings that I have found. It's not the flesh-eating kind, but it's still fascinating to me, and I hope it's fascinating for you guys. If you have any questions about zombies or, creative topics, I am here to listen and answer. If you enjoy this, please let me know, because this is a passion of mine. I'll say it at the end of every episode. I love doing this. This is amazing. It's fun. It's a great way to escape the harsh realities that we all face today. But thank you again. I really appreciate the awesome support. This is probably a bit of a long episode, and I'm hoping that pretty soon I can get some more interviews on here, because y'all seem to enjoy those. That way you're just not listening. Oh, wow, I butchered that sentence. That way you are not only listening to just me talk. I think I still butchered that sentence, but you get the gist. Thank you guys again. I'm pretty sure I've said that 12 times, but I really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting Creators Dementia. Hopefully at some point this channel and this podcast will flourish, and more people will discover it. And I am pleased to say that Creators Dementia has been accepted to Player FM. So if you do have that, you can actually tune in to Creators Dementia as well on computers and mobile phones. So Creators Dementia is on multiple platforms: Podbean, YouTube, Listen Notes, TuneIn, and Player FM. So now I'm shooting for iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So I just actually have to convert my sounds and my video, which I think I can only do sound, to MP3. That way I can get a wider audience, because I know more people listen to Spotify more than anything. So let's shoot for the moon here. Thank you guys again very much. Like I said, this episode is a week late due to technical difficulties. But I will let you go now because you have heard my voice long enough. Love you guys. God bless. Have a great weekend. And I will see you next time. And I promise I will do a test run before I record again like I did just now. Thank y'all. Look, I'm a zombie.